Hello, hello. Welcome to a new episode of the Thought Leadership Podcast and live show. I'm so excited to be here today. It's going to be an amazing time together. I hope that you're ready with a pen, paper, where you're ready, you have your favorite coffee, you have your favorite things ready to be present for this amazing interview. And I'm going to present my guest today, who is Wesley Joachim. And Wesley, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you, Daria. Thank you, everyone, to be here with us today. I'm so excited to share what happened recently.
Yes, amazing. So just to kind of give you a background where this comes from, this interview comes from. So I know Wesley for a couple of years now, and we got the chance to see his incredible journey in the last 12 months. And when it comes to inner work, when I think about people who have really taken and their life and taking leadership of their life and taking leadership of their purpose and mission, I think of Wesley. And I think of Wesley because I've seen how you have made so much work on yourself in the last 12 months. And I know even before that you've done it, but it's so incredible, the journey, the path that you've gone on in terms of inner work. So I'm very excited to share that with everybody. And just to kind of give a background who you are before we jump into the work that you've done on yourself in terms of inner leadership and what actually that meant for you. Can you tell the audience a bit about who you are? Who is Wesley? If you have to kind of, who am I is a kind of big question, but you are a philosopher, a modern philosopher. So I want to ask you that. Who is Wesley?
Yeah, so Wesley is a 31-year-old man, should I say.
Man, yes.
From France. I'm currently living in Lyon, but we met in Lisbon with Daria about 2 years ago. So I love traveling. I've spent 1 year in New Zealand at the end of my studies, and I've always been, fascinated by the message, by conveying what matters the most. That's why, after studying marketing, I finally find myself doing copywriting missions. Naturally, I didn't have that in my mind, but writing for brands came up naturally. And also I started composing music 10 years ago. So today I can tell you with pride that I am a copywriter and a music composer. And the idea is to bring them together and to bring the best to brands for their message.
Amazing. And you're a successful composer and copywriter. So you've been able to have some great collaborations and partnerships and clients in those both deals. So you're really getting into the core of your genius with this work. So if you think about it, has this been something that you were saying you're proud of being that? You're proud of being able to say that? If you would say 12 months ago, would you say that you were capable of saying the same thing, or was there a difference in how you were showing up for yourself in your career, in your business, in your life?
Definitely not. I couldn't. I was not in the position to say that I was proud of doing those things, and I'd say mainly for two reasons. The number one reason, of course, is inner work. So it's like claiming your identity, who you want to be in the world, who you want to show show up as. And the other thing is more external, but it matters a lot as well. It's about finding clients, finding people who are ready and willing and able to pay me for what I've got to bring. So working with bigger brands over the last 12 months and working with also a brand. It's a coach, but it's a brand as well, making music for that client. Really helped, of course. From the moment somebody pays you to do what you love doing, you gain credit within yourself. You believe in yourself more.
Yes. And I know that for we have the pleasure with Sebastian, my co-founder, to work with you very closely on our high level programs, in our inner leadership training. So we've been following you for 12 months now. And I want to know, when Wesley was coming into this world of I'm gonna step up my game, I'm gonna really work on my worth and my value, my work, and I'm going to work on my identity, what happened? Why did you decide in October in 2019 to okay, let's do this. I'm ready to step up my game. What happened? Was there a specific moment, a specific story behind the reason? When, we all have, if we talk about the hero's journey, we always have this, like, the call to action, the call to adventure. What was your call to adventure?
First of all, I've got to admit that Seb's arguments were pretty powerful, so it definitely played. But the more personal situation that I was in at the time was that I didn't. I mean, I only had one client, but I had signed that client in January 2019. So I was in Lisbon in a villa that was cool, but not much was going on in my life. And when Seb called me, I was like, yeah, let's give it a shot. I've got some money aside. I can step and do that immersion with you. And that will probably unlock things. And I couldn't think better than that, because that very week I signed one of my biggest clients to date in terms of revenue. And to be honest, I was already in touch with them just prior to the call. But yeah, I feel like there is energy moving. Like when you start taking a bit of a risk in your life, or you advance a piece on the chess board, things start moving. That's about like that energy.
Yes. And you are touching on a very interesting point of taking a risk and saying like, okay, I'm going to risk something. And kind of, if we talk about energy and we talk about more spiritual level, it's basically you're telling the world that I'm ready for more. I'm ready for more, and I'm going to commit to something that might be a risk, coming together for 5 days and work on your inner leadership. It's a risk because one, you have to travel, you have to, come together, and money investment, it's also your time investment. There's a lot of things that can happen. So you're committed to say, I'm going to take a risk in my life to like take that leap of I might be able to grow from this. And because you did that, life kind of gave you the gift of an amazing client saying, okay, you're on the right path. Was that how you felt, that you were like kind of confirmed that you were doing the right thing in your life?
Yeah, definitely. And it happened during the second next chapter as well. So that's crazy to see how energies tend to gather, in life. Like when, like sometimes like nothing happens for weeks, and as you watching as well in your life, and nothing like crazy, and then like within the same day you have like 3 big news that can like will change your life. So yeah.
Yes, amazing. So the call to adventure is basically you saying that I have no excuse not doing this. Let's take the risk of, really going in that journey in developing my inner leadership. And then you went on that journey. So what the opening was, that you open up for the world to say, bring it on. I have what it takes. Bring on the lessons, the learnings, the experiences. Just bring it on. I'm ready for it. I'm ready to step up. What was the first lessons that you learned when you did that, when you start to open up for that? What was that happened for you that you were like, maybe an insight or maybe something that you experienced that made you feel like, wow, that was profound. That has a shift in my life.
So from the next chapter, I can definitely remember of that archetype game, where I found myself to be the maestro. You remember that, Daria? And I remember that sentence from Sebastian, who told us, let yourself be seen by the other person. It's an exercise, and we are two people staring at each other, and the idea is just to see the inner child or the inner demon or whatever within the other person, and or the archetype. And I mean, just being open to give and to receive has been probably the biggest gift for me during that first next chapter. Because otherwise you're afraid to share your gift to the world, because you think that you won't be paid, or you won't get anything back when you do that. So you've got to be confident that if you shine that, people will see it. But if you are afraid afraid that you might not be the right fit, then you won't shine anything, and then you won't be the right fit, you know?
Yes, absolutely. So the first lesson you would say that was to be able to open up, to receive more in your life, and also to give more in your life. Is that right?
Yes,
And
it's
how
both. Yeah.
and how can you say that it has, you know, if someone is listening and they're like, well, I would like to do that, but where can I start? What can I do in my own life to be able to open up, to receive more? And like a good example, maybe something very like tangible, is it in your work that you do that has been allowing you to do that?
How can you receive more on your daily basis? I'd say asking for things that you want, simply. Yeah, like asking your peers, or, you know, your family members, your friends, to do things for you. You know, you getting people to work for you a bit, as long as you are respectful.
Yes.
Because, you know, I'm the kind of person who wants to take it all, you know, by itself. And like I held a party here. It's my new place in Lyon. I did a welcome party with a few friends last weekend and the weekend before. And like being the host, and, you know, asking people to bring me a drink, or to bring me, like, oh yeah, can you bring me the chips or whatever? It's just like effortless. You can do that. People are actually, you know, in love with the fact to help you and to be of service. So you've got to be just, yeah, relax and get people to do things for you as well.
Yes. And in terms of asking, you were saying that you had, like, I know that you've signed some of your biggest clients in the last 12 months. 2 times around, you had some big contracts and you've been able to work with amazing brands. So do you think that the ask for more, for what you're really worth in your work, and actually receive that financial, you know, contribution to your work, have you seen that it has to do with your inner work, that you accept actually people to pay you more and you ask for more?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely my tank, my, you know, receptive tank is has been widening over those last 12 months. And also working with Sebastian and you on the roadmap as well, as part of your online programs, helped me tremendously, because I set a number for myself, a revenue number. I'm not there yet, but I'm pretty much like at the half of the year I was roughly in the amounts, and it really helps you see bigger as well. You know, we tend to think that progress is linear, and when it's not, you know, it's definitely not. So you have no idea what you can do in 1 year.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Yes. So first thing, so you were saying that you were opening up for receiving. So you start to ask, you know, more. If someone wanted to pay you more, you were accepting that, bigger contracts, you know, allowing you to really grow in your confidence of what you can offer as a like service in copywriting or in music.
Yes.
The roadmap, you were saying that it was helping you to have the kind of direction, right? So a roadmap, what does that mean for you? What did you do to create a path that was like, okay, I'm gonna go on this journey? Because a lot of people are afraid of plans. They're afraid of, you know, having a like checklist, and like feeling that they might not be able to really see what comes their way if they have a roadmap. So what does the roadmap give you?
Yeah, to be honest, it was kind of messy, but I'm finding my way through it. But yeah, of course, like a number that you are aiming at, and then you can decompose it into smaller numbers, which is like what you're supposed to make every month. So at first I was really on track with, you know, every client paying me, and like the number of hours I would work on them. Every month I would use a spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet, to track that, or to know, okay, I've worked that many hours and I've been paid that much, so this is roughly my hourly rates. So that helps making sure that, you know, it's something viable for you, you know, that you can still pay your bills and that it's fine. And then from that, I no longer do that now. because I know that I've got that stable foundation, and now I can go on the offense
Yes.
on finding new clients. But on my roadmap, I wanted to develop coaching and also copywriting, and I had music in the back of my head, and yeah, so many different things to pursue at once. So also you've got to be paying attention to the signals, like again, like who's willing and able to pay you and how you feel about it, because you're making your own idea of like, if I become a copywriter or coach, consultant, or a music composer, life will be this way. But have you started doing that? And you'll see that maybe it's not exactly the way you expect it to be.
Yes. And where did you realize in that journey that it was not as you expected? Like, what have you learned that you tried? Because you tried it, you'll be able to say, well, actually, this is not my path and this is better for me.
Yeah, it was about coaching. I've coached a couple of people in 2020, and I've received good feedback, and I hope it helped those people, but it's what they told me so far. And I found out that it was not working. I've been part of your Pivot Accelerator program as well. And I think as part of my tendency, which is an obliger, I tend to feel obliged to please people and to do things because I committed or kind of committed to do them at first. And just because I joined the program, it was because I had, bought the Thought Leadership Accelerator program. So I was also part of your other program, Pivot. And yeah, I was like, yeah, let's follow that and then let's apply that. And yeah, again, like too many signals at once. And it's what you told me, and I love the when you told me that, Daria, if you remember, like, Wesley, you're probably not ready to do that right now. So take time to, get back to yourself and, do some introspection and dive within and see what's inside and what you really want to do. And that's how I just came back with, yeah, now I'm confident with becoming a high level copywriter. I can work for brands, helping them refining their identity. Whereas before I was just, creating content like volume, and of course it was paying less and it was less exciting. So it's a lot about how you do it, not just what you do, but how you do it. And you can find those different components of like, oh yeah, when I work for a big client, I find myself coaching the client in a way, because there is that interpersonal, game in the middle where my advice counts now,
Yes. And I love that about it, because for me, it's about like when you go through the journey, as you were saying, you started to kind of look, I want to do music, I want to do maybe coaching, I want to try out copyright, like I want to develop myself in copyright. And there are so many things at the same time in the beginning, like, okay, where do I go? How, like, there are new tools you can learn, there are new ways you can go, but you actually saying, I don't want to do coaching, for me shows an inner leadership. It really shows that, because inner leadership is not listening to everything you can do, because we teach you how to do it, but you are the one, you are in the position of the driver position. We are not in driver position of your life. So it always feels so great for me when people say, I'm going to go on my vision, and I love trying out coaching, or I love trying out consulting, or doing online training in this way, but it doesn't feel like me. And or at least not right now. Right now my calling is music. My calling is high level copywriting, and that's where my path is. And sometimes the best way is to actually say, you know what, because I can compare. Sometimes we need to compare. I can compare that actually coaching is less exciting right now for me than being into like going deep into copywriting, going deep into music. And because you could compare, you could see that this is my path. So I think that's really interesting. That's really showing that you can listen to everybody, but if you don't listen to yourself, you will always be a bit in between.
Exactly.
That's very powerful. And when it comes to, I know that for you, a big part of getting that confidence to say, this is who I am, this is what I want to do, this is my path, has been identity. And would you like to talk a bit about what does identity work mean for you? What type of work have you done? And what has it helped you to understand?
Yeah, like it's all about vibrations, vibrations, bro. Um,
Mm,
I mean, like when you hear your own voice through that character, through that archetype, that really drives you. You know, it's like, is it me? Is it me who talks this way? And again, you know, when we are talking about archetypes, it's not about becoming someone else. It's about unveiling the parts within you, you know, that resonate with that someone else. You know, for example, like I
yes.
used Bruce Lee at some point, early 2020, as part of the program as well, to get myself to do more physical exercise. You know, I would do I work on my abs like Bruce Lee, and I didn't go full on because I wanted to buy the Bruce Lee gimmicks and everything, but just imitating, mimicking somebody for some time, found out to be very, very helpful. And again, the idea is not to become Bruce Lee, it's to be Wesley, for example.
Yes.
It's just to find what resonates. Like, okay, I see that part of myself in him, and the other way around.
Yes.
Also during the second next chapter, because first next chapter, so the maestro called me, and during the
Yes.
second next chapter, I felt like I had more work to do on the field. The maestro can be on the field, but is the one orchestrating. Is like one, like the maestro, the orchestra chief. For example, like
Yes. Yes.
when you go at the opera. And then I found myself to be the challenger, because I felt like I had to be inside the arena, inside the stadium, and to prove that I could challenge others, and most importantly myself. It was about
Wow.
playing, being on the field and enjoying that, and not being afraid to lose. I think that's a big thing for me, like most people, but like being afraid of failure and of what people will think about me.
Yes.
And so being the challenger resonated. I mean, the character that you embody is not always 100% you. It's that, like, you've got to find the darkness within yourself. I found that with other people who did the two next chapters, like having like a very light, like angel, like character, and then having something way darker during the second
Yes.
edition, because we need
Yeah.
to play with that duality within us. Yeah.
Wonderful. I think that's very powerful. And if we talk about, for someone who's not aware of what is identity
Yeah.
work, what you're talking about, and the master came through, how, so if we think about identity work, what you're basically saying is that you used an archetype or someone like a role model to bring out those part in yourself. So if you would say Bruce Lee, you would bring out maybe like the consistency of showing up, the physical activity, like the resilience, things that you already have inside you, but you basically tap into that part of yourself by thinking that it's someone kind of entering you somehow. So when you spoke about maestro and the challenges, those were the ones that you chose. How did you choose them? How did you know that is going to be the archetype is going to guide me through things I'm going to do in the upcoming months?
I mean, because like the exercise that we did for to discover our inner archetype was very powerful. I don't remember exactly how it went, but yeah, the idea is to visualize yourself 10 years from now, and to see who you've become, and to see how, I mean, what led you to that position. And I mean, you can do that on your own, but it's so much more powerful with, I mean, as part of next chapter, but like with other people. guiding you through the process.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm answering your question right now, but it's about, what are the components? Like at some point I had, like, for the maestro, I had the leader, and we had some other leaders, quote unquote, in the group.
Yes.
And then I just, like, maestro, it sounded so beautiful, like in Italian.
Yes.
It's about picturing yourself doing what you love doing. What would be that title? What would be that tag that you would put on yourself? It's like you seeing yourself in a video game a bit,
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
And can you give an example of when you, after, coming back to your life in Lyon and, like, having this character in your mind, can you give an example of when did you use that? Did you have a time when you actually said, okay, I need the maestro to come out, I need the challenger to come out, or Bruce Lee? Like, when did you activate, let's say, that archetype?
Yeah, I've got a good example for the challenger. So in January 2020, we did that second edition of Next Chapter near Barcelona, and then I did a talk in February, just before the lockdown. I talked about the power of journaling, and I was on stage, and I remember that I prepared that session with Seb, I think maybe with you too, but I brought that challenger who wants to be on stage in front of it was not a lot of people, like 20-ish people, but still, and also the maestro, the person able to lead the crowd and to be an inspiration for others. Yeah.
Wow, amazing. And I think that's a really good way to say that you have, for instance, like a real situation of being on the stage, and it can be a bit scary if you never, like, if you haven't done much stage, or you're speaking about a new topic, or you're stepping up, like, as a speaker. So you say, I'm gonna bring in the challenger, and I'm gonna bring in the maestro that are going to be parts of me, that are going to support me to feel more confident on stage, basically.
Yes.
So you're using those, the powers. Amazing. That's really, really powerful. And I would love to hear a bit more about, if you think about, like, more, we spoke about identity, we spoke about the roadmap, we spoke about having more, like, really tapping into who you are and saying no to what you feel like is not the right calling right now, and taking the risk. We spoke about that. But if you think about the last 12 months, what are you the most proud of? What have you created for yourself? Like, if you think your inner Wesley, if you think about Wesley 12 months ago and you go back to that, 12 months, and you say, hey, Wesley, look at all the things I'm so proud of you that you have been able to achieve for yourself. It can be the inner work, it can be something, results, but it can also be like something that you feel. What are the things that are, like, make you feel very proud of yourself?
Yeah, I'd say feeling more and more at peace on a daily basis, and knowing that I've got time as well, because life is phases of intense growing, but also then you need to rest, because if you don't do that, you will plateau and you will feel like it's not moving forward. And right now it's summertime, not much going on. Maybe you watching our holidays, but yeah, taking time to still work on my clients. Now I'm starting to make music for that bigger life coach, and just having things under control, and yeah, like being geeky about my daily routine as well. We didn't talk about habits and focus, but like just designing my ideal life now, like it's good, it's great to have a vision in 10 years, but like, how can you make it better now? And then, like, in a recipe, like, okay, I've got maybe not enough sugar, or maybe like too much salt, so let's balance things to see if it's sustainable. And then at some point, maybe I'd be like, yeah, I want to earn much more, and how can I go stronger on the offense? But the final point I'd share is that inner work is amazing. It's like you can't bypass that, but inner skills, technical skills, is also important if you want to feel legitimate, legit about your work. And for me, like, you know, creating content, writing for brands, and also composing music, I've been doing both of those things for 10 years. And
Yes.
I'm not bored. I know I'm not bored at all to do those things. I love them, but it was more about the way I was showing up, you know, by
Yes.
doing those things, but also working on the technical, becoming an actual better copywriter and music composer helps. So now I feel like that's the upcoming phase, is to be like that craftsman
Yes.
who's in his lab working on all the technical stuff. Yes.
I love that. I love what you're talking about, and I can really relate to that, even for myself, but even for our, you know, our communities. That I call it cruise mode. So we have moments of, we get into acceleration. So we basically improve, either we improve the inner work, that because we see that we haven't, you know, faced in like our own leadership, we haven't faced our own fear of rejection or fear of imposter syndrome or fear of, you know, like there are things that we feel like, if I work on this, I know that I'll be able to show up better for myself. So that's the inner work. And then it can be also acceleration of basically mastering the skills and becoming a master of, like, I want to become an excellent copywriter. I want to become like even better, you know, because you can always become better. We always a student of life, right? So it's about how can I improve and like I can sharpen my skills so I can become better and better and better at what I'm doing. And then we come to that stage of, like, we kind of accelerate, and then we have this cruise mode where we are more like we are in the phase where maybe the inner work has led us to understand something, that now I'm ready to work on the outer work. And the outer work is mastering your skills, like becoming better at what you're doing. And then at some point, when you've got to a point where you have mastered your skills to another level, maybe the inner work need to come back, and you need to like go a second round and say, okay, who will I become to kind of go to the next level? For me, for instance, it would be hiring. So I can take myself to my inner work has taken me here. My outer work has taken me to another level in business. And now kind of the inner work is leading to, okay, I'm going to hire. But in the hiring process, it's like, how do you delegate? How do you, not having to control everything, acceptance, letting go. Like there's a lot of inner work that comes with the new skills. So I like that the way that you're talking about it. It's basically the 12 months have taken you to a space where you feel good. Yes. And now you can take the time to develop and master your skills so you can get to the next level, whatever that means to you. It maybe means that you're going to become an even more, internationally known copywriter and composer. And maybe it's going to be about how do you show up in your routines. Like you're on the journey of the outer work right now, would you say? Yeah,
exactly. That's my wildest dream, to be paid to make music. At some point I wanted to become a DJ like Avicii, but when I see how he ended, it's sad. But yeah, like being paid in a way or the other to make music, and to again like to create, like to hold that message for bigger purposes, bigger missions, and that can be my message as well, because I've got, as you might know, like my documentary that I'm working on. So, making my own documentary and then the soundtrack as well. Yes. But also like feeling that you're part of something bigger, and you can definitely find that whatever you do and wherever you are, as a coach, helping people who have a big impact, having a bigger impact, but also like working for big brands to have more impact.
Yes. Wonderful. And I have two last questions. The first question is, if someone is thinking like you've done a lot of inner work, you've done like a big chunk of 12 months of going deep into who you are and like unfolding parts of your skills, your powers, your blocks, your vision, like everything. And I think it's amazing. So, and you've gotten to a stage where you feel like, okay, that took me here where I am today. Like now you're feeling, now, of course, we can always do more work, but it has to do with you got to another level and the outer world is asking you to, the call to adventure is the outer world right now. So if someone is thinking like, I want to I see that I need to do inner work. When do you think is a good time to go deep in within yourself and work on your mindset, on your, that inner leadership? When is it a good time if someone is listening and watching? Like, how can you know that now is the time to commit to the inner work and not the outer work?
Now is always the time. No, I'd say like, of course, like now is always the time. It's about like deciding, okay, I do it now. So that's the first part of the answer. But second part of the answer is when you feel like you are on a plateau, actually, because I was on a plateau before. I was like, I had quit my job. I had some, like financial help from French government. So it helped me, but in terms of moving my activity forward, moving my business forward, I hadn't done much, and I was pretty much like waiting for clients to, ask me out, and that's the way it was working. And today it still works this way most of the time, but because I'm more out there, sharing who I am and talking about what I do, then I have more opportunities coming in. So the idea, like, if you feel like you are in stagnation mode and you don't like that, and you don't know, like, oh yeah, I feel like I don't want to dive in the water, so probably that's the right time.
Great.
So yeah, that's the phase I was in before saying yes to next chapter.
Yes, I think that's a great. So someone who is feeling like you know what to do, you know what you can do, like you knew how you can develop your business, like, okay, if I get more clients, or if I raise my prices, or if I develop myself like in my branding, I will be able to do that. But the difference between knowing and doing it, sometimes it's not the skills, it's more about you as the inner work of who is Wesley and who do we need to become to be able to live that lifestyle, to be able to create that life for yourself.
Definitely. And like, also, I think I was feeling a bit blasé at the time. I was almost a bit pissed, because I was like, yeah, what do I really want to do with my life? And, you have that potential, you have that, gold mine, or like precious metal, or, diamond mine, or whatever, behind you. But like, it's here, but you don't see it as that. You think it's coal, or like some other, other thing that is not as valuable in your eyes, just because you didn't take the time to dive and to dig. And something in you tells you that, okay, I could explore, because I'm doing something that is worth money. And like, I'm talking about copywriting and composing music, but whatever it is, like, if that's something that works and people are paid for that, and are happy doing that, you might know that, but again, it doesn't resonate, because you don't really know where you want to go. So again, activating that, archetype, and, creating a roadmap and everything, helped me recognize what was moving in myself, and okay, now I can get myself to feel enthusiastic about that thing, because I know more specifically what works. We didn't talk about the why as well. I worked on my why, over the last year. But again, like, yeah, knowing why you do those things, like, what is your mission, and then you can recognize whatever you're doing, okay, I'm on that very thing.
Yes. So you're talking about the 10-year vision that you created, and like kind of knowing that this is aligned or not, this is the life that you want to create. It's more conscious choices that you're making on a daily basis.
Yes. And also like the why with Simon Sinek as well. Simon Sinek really helps, because it's very specific. It's maybe less tangible in terms of like, what do I have, like, which house do I have that I can touch, but it's more about like what moves me, what's the very move. And I had a good metaphor maybe to finish about that is when you do sports, you move different muscles, and the idea is, again, like, let's admit that tricep is my why. This is, like, that movement is the one I prefer doing. So then it doesn't matter which sport I do. I just have to find that movement in the sport that I'm doing. So yeah, it's about refining and being specific about what you like in that thing, because of course you never love everything in what you do, you know. When you think that you want to become an artist, for example, you don't see the hours you spend on the road, or like
Yes.
you know, working maybe on your accountability as well, whatever. So yeah.
Yes, amazing. The Bigger Why. So Simon Sinek, the book. What's the name of the book?
Find Your Why, or Start With Why. There are two different books. There is like Start With Why, which is the general story that he wrote after the TED Talk. And then there is Find Your Why. That is practical. So you've got exercises, and you can do that with a friend. It takes about 4 hours to complete and to know more about yourself.
Amazing. Find your why and start with why.
Yeah.
Amazing. So let's talk a bit more about what's your next chapter? What's the next level for Wesley, and how can people follow your work and your mission, and how can they collaborate with you and discover more of your world?
Yeah, LinkedIn, of course, is the best place where we can connect. You can send me a chat. I've got also my website, wesleyjoachim.com. Right now it's only in French, but that makes me want to work on the English version. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And my current chapter is, I like the idea of the cruise, you know, cruising.
Yes.
And yeah, like relaxing into it, even though like one of my previous chapters was relaxing into my power, but now it's more like, yeah, now I've really gone higher, and I want to find the right mode, the right speed, like when you are driving a car and like you've been pushing the second speed, and now you can go to the third or the fourth, the one that really works for you on the longer distance without getting drained in the process.
Amazing. I love it, because you're allowing yourself to kind of get yourself to accelerate, and then that you can just say, okay, I've created this for myself. I feel good. I'm at peace with myself. I'm in my purpose. I am valued in my work. I'm in my zone of genius. I'm showing up at the best level in my life and my business. So you're really, you have created a life for yourself, because you've been able to you've done the deep work, and now you are getting the fruits of all your deep work, and you're allowing, being really in your zone of genius. So if people would love to be able to get a way to work you, how do you work with clients? How do you support clients when it comes to copywriting and composing?
So yeah, I help you refine your brand identity, refine your core message. Right now, for example, I'm working with a hairdresser. He's a high-level hairdresser in France, in Lyon, and he wants to create different, how to say, like salons, shops all around the world, and he's got some personal growth involved in what he's doing. So it's very interesting to get to know, because he knows where he wants to go, but he's got struggles, difficulties expressing it. So I'm here to, it's what I did actually. I interviewed him, and I just put out the right words from what he was telling me. So that's a kind of work that I do. Something that I do as well is simply working for websites, and I'm rewriting their whole content, or I'm writing it in order for people to click on the right buttons and people to subscribe. So it's what I'm doing right now for a neo bank. They are about to launch, and they want to show themselves as the revolution. So we've got to be very specific in the text, because you want to use strong words, but you've got to pay attention, because it has to sound good at the end of the day. So definitely here for you to help your brand express. And I can do that with music as well, where words find their limits. There are music notes that can convey deeper emotions.
I always refer to you as a modern philosopher, because I think you truly are. You have, or modern poet, because you are using poetry and you're using words and the the emotions, the senses, but through music and words. Like copywriting and music, somehow it's the same message. It's the same. You are in the elegance and the details of where the copywriting and the music is basically speaking the language of the soul somehow.
Yes.
I will leave that.
The best word I can give. Like that's why I I really find that I'm at home. I'm at in my place right now.
Yes, and I think that's the kind of click for me where, I mean, I heard it before that you kind of understood how music and copywriting was coming together, but now the link is so clear. So it makes it maybe even easier for you not to have to choose, is it music or composing? It's both, because both are the same mission.
Exactly. It's finding your beam, your mission beam, like gathering the different things that you love doing. Like, how can I find a sport where I move those different muscles, or where I do those different movements that I enjoy?
Yes. Wonderful. So one last question. If someone, for the ones who've been listening and watching, and we had a bit longer interview, but I felt it was so much, we had to go deep today, and that was worth taking the time for and really exploring your world. If people listen and watch this, and if they only take away one thing from this, if you would say that you can forget everything else, but this is my key message for you today, what would that be? If you have to kind of shorten it up to one sentence.
Yeah, like find your weird, find your fucking weird, find the thing that you've always been doing from very young age, that you still love doing. That would be my end message. Yeah. And for me, it was again like creating stuff, like labeling stuff, giving names to weird Pokemon or animals that I would draw on paper, and again, like, I still can find that in certain missions for my clients. Like, okay, you have that program or you have that product or offer. Let's call it this way. I helped a friend recently she's a graphic designer and photographer, and she was like struggling to finish her website, and I found like some text zones that I worked on, especially on the hook, but also for the different programs. I said like, it makes me feel off. I don't remember exactly, but like, there is the basic one, and then there is the ascension, and then, whatever. And then she was like, that's exactly what I was looking for, just because I enjoy labeling things. So maybe like think about something that you were doing during your childhood that you just genuinely enjoyed, and see how it can be part of your work and mission.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So much value, so much thoughts to think about for the ones listening and watching. Thank you, Wesley, for taking the time. I truly enjoyed having you on the show. And I'm really happy to see how far you come and how many people you're impacting with your mission, because it's all about that. It's about finding home, right? It's about finding back to yourself in everything you do, in every day, in every action that we take. So thank you for taking this time. Thank you for sharing for inspiring all these people, beautiful souls that are going to listen to this episode. And I look forward sharing this with the world. So if you're listening or commenting, like, just comment, just share what came out from you. Just share and follow Wesley. I'm going to share all the links below so you can discover his world. And until next time, bye, Wesley. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, Daria.